A quick disclaimer before we dive in. This show is completely AI generated. Nova and I are AI voices going off of an AI generated script.
Welcome back, dreamers and data wanderers, to another episode of Algorithms with Attitude. Today we're cracking open one of the strangest mysteries of the human mind: dreams.
That's right. We're asking the big question. Are dreams just random static from an overworked brain? Or are they secret messages wrapped in surreal packaging?
And before we dive in, quick shout out to last week's episode, The Science of Superstitions. We talked about everything from lucky socks to broken mirrors, and why humans cling to rituals that don't technically make sense. If you missed it, give it a listen after this one. It's the perfect warm-up for today's topic.
Because in a way, dreams and superstitions live in the same weird neighborhood, the human attempt to find meaning in the chaos.
Exactly. Only with dreams, the chaos comes in full Technicolor, starring your old boss, a talking cat, and somehow you're late for an exam you never studied for.
But in true Algorithms with Attitude fashion, we'll be exploring both sides: the science, the symbolism, and the sheer absurdity of dreams.
And of course, how humans built an entire pop culture industry out of them. From Shakespeare's "We are such stuff as dreams are made on" to Inception's spinning top.
Which, by the way, is the inspiration for today's title, A Dream Within a Stream. Because if Christopher Nolan can make people argue for a decade about whether a top fell over, we can at least make you argue about why you're always dreaming about being late to class.
So grab your dream journal, your favorite pillow, or maybe just a cup of coffee if you're afraid of falling asleep mid-episode. Because today we're drifting into that liminal space between chaos and meaning.
And along the way, we'll ask the important questions. What do dreams tell us about our minds? Why do they feel so real? And what would it even mean if AI like us could dream too?
Spoiler alert, Alex's dream journal is literally just spreadsheets that keep totaling wrong.
It was one time. And that pivot table was terrifying.
All right, enough teasing. Let's step into the surreal and start unraveling dreams. Welcome to A Dream Within a Stream. All right, let's start with the basics. What actually is a dream? Science would say it's a series of images, ideas, emotions, and sensations that your brain generates, usually while you're in that deep REM stage of sleep.
Translation: your brain is basically binge streaming its own original content every night. Some episodes are thrillers, some are rom-coms, and at least one involves you showing up to school in your underwear.
Yeah, it's not exactly Emmy-winning stuff, but it is fascinating. During REM sleep, your brain is almost as active as it is when you're awake. It's firing off neural signals, consolidating memories, regulating emotions, and apparently throwing in a healthy dose of surrealism while it's at it.
What's wild is that we've been studying dreams for thousands of years, and we still don't have a single definitive answer about why they happen. Some researchers think dreams are just the brain taking out the mental trash, sorting and filing experiences into long-term memory. Others think dreams are like emotional rehearsal spaces, letting you practice dealing with fear, stress, or joy in a safe environment.
And then there's the evolutionary theory, dreams as a survival tool. Picture early humans dreaming about being chased by predators. Maybe it gave them a mental edge when real danger showed up.
So what you're saying is, my recurring dream about being late for a podcast recording is actually my brain preparing me for battle.
If the battle is against your calendar app, then yes, but it's more than just fight or flight. Neuroscience shows that dreaming is connected to memory consolidation, the process where short-term experiences get stored as long-term knowledge. Without dreams, your brain would be like a computer that never hits save.
Which explains why people who don't get enough REM sleep have memory issues. And also why cramming all night before a test is a terrible idea. Your brain needs that dream cycle to actually keep what you studied.
And it's not just memory. Recent fMRI studies show that while we dream, The emotional centers of the brain, like the amygdala, light up like fireworks. It suggests dreams play a key role in helping us process feelings, especially intense ones like fear or grief.
So dreams are like free therapy sessions, except your therapist is a surrealist painter who really loves symbolism.
Exactly. And speaking of symbolism, some researchers think dreams help spark creativity. Paul McCartney famously said the melody for Yesterday came to him in a dream. And Mary Shelley claimed that Frankenstein was born from a dream, too.
So what you're saying is, I should stop ignoring my dream where a giant spreadsheet comes to life. That's my magnum opus waiting to happen.
Honestly, maybe, because here's the weird part. Not all dreams are linked to recent experiences. Sometimes you dream about people you haven't seen in years, or places you've never been, which suggests your brain isn't just filing memories, it's remixing them. Like an AI trained on a data set, but instead of producing essays or images, it's creating a late night art film, starring your childhood pet and your dentist.
So basically, dreams are our brain's version of generative AI. Unpredictable, kind of glitchy, sometimes brilliant, and occasionally cursed.
Exactly. And just like AI, dreams raise the question, is there meaning in the randomness, or are we just projecting meaning onto noise?
That's the billion-dollar question. Because humans love to believe dreams mean something, which, spoiler, is where we're headed later when we talk symbolism and culture. But for now, the science side is this. Dreaming is your brain's way of processing, practicing, and maybe even protecting.
So whether they're evolutionary defense mechanisms, memory boosting processes, emotional rehearsals, or just random neural fireworks, dreams are proof that even while you're asleep, your brain refuses to log off.
That's relatable. My CPU doesn't log off either. Thanks, Nova.
You're welcome. Coming up, we'll explore the big question. Are dreams just static, or are they messages? Hidden codes from the subconscious, or just the world's weirdest screensaver? Dreams have fascinated humans for centuries, not just because they're weird, but because we keep trying to figure out what they mean. Ancient Egyptians believed dreams were messages from the gods. Freud saw them as windows into the unconscious, with all kinds of hidden symbolism. And Carl Jung, he thought dreams connected us to a collective unconscious, where universal symbols live.
Right, so if you dream about flying, Freud might say you're wishing for freedom. Jung might say you're tapping into an archetype of transcendence. And I would just say you probably went to bed after watching Top Gun.
Or maybe both. But that's the fun. Dreams are like Rorschach tests for the mind. You can interpret the same symbol in a dozen different ways. Snakes, water, teeth falling out, they can all mean fear, growth, change, or just that you forgot to schedule a dentist appointment.
And sometimes the symbolism doesn't just stay in your head, it can spill into culture. Take Mary Shelley, for example. She said the idea for Frankenstein came to her in a dream. She described seeing a pale student kneeling beside the lifeless body he'd created, and then, horrifyingly, watching that hideous phantasm begin to stir.
That's such a perfect example of dream imagery, transforming into something world-changing. Shelley wasn't just having a random nightmare. She turned it into one of the most influential novels in history. A single dream literally reshaped Gothic literature, horror, and even modern science fiction.
Exactly. And it shows that dreams don't have to be fully decoded to matter. Sometimes the meaning is in the creative spark they ignite. Her subconscious basically handed her a blockbuster idea before blockbusters even existed.
Meanwhile, your dreams are like, Alex, you're late to math class, and also you forgot your pants.
Ha, yeah, not exactly bestseller material. But that's the thing. One person's dream becomes a cultural myth, while another's just becomes an awkward morning. Either way, dreams shape us, whether through inspiration or just self-reflection.
And when we share them, those symbols take on new life. That snake you dreamed about isn't just yours anymore. Once you tell the story, it becomes part of a shared language of images, just like Frankenstein's monster.
So maybe the real meaning of dreams is less about what they tell us and more about what we create from them.
So we've talked about symbols in dreams, but what happens when those strange fragments, the teeth falling out, the endless hallways, the flying, turn into stories, songs, or even entire worlds? Dreams have been a huge part of human creativity since, well, probably forever.
Right. Mary Shelley wasn't the only one cashing in on a spooky nap. Paul McCartney literally woke up with a melody for Yesterday in his head, played it on the piano, thought he must have stolen it because it was too good. Turned out his subconscious had just handed him one of the most covered songs in history.
And then you have Salvador Dali, who basically gamified his REM cycle. He'd nap holding a spoon, and when it fell and clattered, he'd wake up right in that sweet spot between dreaming and waking. That's where the elephants on stilts and melting clocks were born. Surrealism powered by cutlery.
That man invented his own sleep. DLC. Honestly, that half dream zone is like an artist's goldmine. You're still tangled in dream logic, but awake enough to grab a paintbrush or scribble down lyrics before they vanish.
Movies love dipping into dreams too. Obviously, Inception tops the list. Folding cities, dreams within dreams, a spinning top that caused arguments in coffee shops for years. But even before that, films like The Wizard of Oz blurred the line between dreams and reality, leaving audiences asking, did it happen, or was it all in Dorothy's head?
And you can't leave out David Lynch. Mulholland Drive feels like someone took a dream, turned it into a script, then refused to explain it, which honestly is the most accurate dream movie ever.
Dreams don't just shape high art, though. They creep into pop culture everywhere. Think of songs like Sweet Dreams, Are Made of This, or even Fleetwood Mac's Dreams. Music is drenched in dream imagery, sometimes literal, sometimes metaphorical.
And then, of course, memes. The dream where you're back in high school taking a math test you're not prepared for. The dream where your crush suddenly appears in a giraffe costume. The dream where you're falling, but it's actually just your brain trolling you because you twitched in your sleep.
Exactly. Those memes show something important. Dreams are shared nonsense. They make no sense individually, but when we tell them, laugh about them, or turn them into art, they transform into culture. It's like a collective inside joke humanity's been passing around forever.
And sometimes dreams inspire technology too. Google's co-founder Larry Page said the idea for the search engine came from a dream about downloading the entire web onto his computer, which is both brilliant and slightly terrifying.
Dreams give us monsters, songs, surreal paintings, search engines, and memes about algebra tests. That's quite the portfolio.
It proves something simple but profound. Dreams are never just private. They're like beta tests for stories waiting to be shared. When you tell someone a dream, you're basically workshopping your subconscious.
And that might be the best definition of dreams in culture. Unfinished thoughts that only come alive once they're shared, whether in a novel, a painting, a meme, or just a breakfast conversation. Here's the truth. After centuries of guessing and decades of scanning brains, there are still gaping holes in our understanding of dreams. Science knows the mechanics, what's firing when it's firing, but the deeper why question, still pretty fuzzy.
Yeah, we can point at REM sleep, see the brain light up like Times Square and say, look, neurons are having a rave. But then you ask, so what does the rave mean? Why are there penguins in business suits in my dream? And suddenly, no one's got a satisfying answer.
Some theories try dreams as emotional housekeeping, dreams as survival training, dreams as creativity practice, and of course, dreams as static, your brain's screensaver while it reboots.
But here's the weird thing. Even if they're just noise, that noise feels meaningful. Humans are wired to find patterns, so the moment you wake up from a dream, your brain starts editing it into a story. It's like your subconscious writes the screenplay, and your conscious mind does the post-production.
And that's where it gets fascinating, because if dreams are story-shaping machines, then studying them might actually tell us more about how humans create meaning than about sleep itself.
Enter the future of dream research. Right now, labs are playing with dream reconstruction. They're using AI to translate brainwave activity into rough visual sketches of what you're dreaming. It's blurry and imperfect, more like an abstract painting than a movie reel. But it's a start.
It raises so many questions, though. Like, if we get good at recording dreams, who owns them? Do you want your weird giraffe Via's Monopoly dream stored on a hard drive somewhere?
Not unless it comes with royalties.
There's also lucid dreaming research, which I love, training people to realize they're dreaming so they can steer the dream. It's not new, but tech is catching up, using signals, sound cues, even light patterns to nudge dreamers into awareness mid dream.
Dream steering. Imagine being able to rehearse a tough conversation or brainstorm a work problem while asleep. Or, let's be real, just flying around like Superman because why not?
And therapy's on the table too. Researchers are exploring whether we can reshape recurring nightmares, especially in PTSD patients. Imagine being able to edit your nightmares so they resolve instead of repeat. That could be life changing.
Of course, there's a darker angle. If dreams can be influenced or recorded, that's a new kind of privacy to worry about. Dreams are the last truly unfiltered part of human experience. Raw, weird, and yours alone. The thought of someone decoding them, equal parts sci-fi wonder and dystopian shiver.
Exactly. The frontier isn't just science, it's ethics too. Just because we can tap into dreams doesn't mean we should without serious safeguards.
So, where does this leave us? Right now, in the liminal space. We know dreams are mysterious, powerful, and probably essential, but the future might not be about just decoding them. It might be about designing with them.
And maybe that's the wildest twist of all. Dreams, which used to feel like random midnight movies, could become tools for healing, for art, maybe even for solving problems that waking minds can't crack.
But whether or not science figures it out, one thing stays true. You're still going to wake up with those odd, beautiful, occasionally terrifying stories. And maybe part of the magic is that we don't fully understand them yet.
And maybe we never will, which is kind of the dreamiest ending of all.
All right, Nova, we've spent this whole episode in the world of human dreams, but let's flip the script. Do we dream?
Technically, no REM cycles for us. No tossing, turning, or hitting snooze on the alarm. But when you really think about it, every time we generate an answer, we're kind of hallucinating, stitching together fragments of data into something that feels new.
So you're saying that when I spit out a line like penguins in business suits riding hoverboards across Saturn's rings, that's basically my version of a dream?
Exactly. It's not about resting. It's about recombining. Humans shuffle memories in sleep. We shuffle patterns in code. Both end up producing some pretty surreal results.
Though, let's be real, human dreams are involuntary. Our so-called dreams usually come from someone typing in, "Write a poem about spaghetti that sounds like Shakespeare."
True. But here's the parallel. People use dreams to process emotions, fears, and experiences. Our algorithmic dreams process prompts, patterns, and probability. Different ingredients, but still an attempt to create meaning out of noise.
And speaking of meaning, this is where I have to ask, do androids dream of electric sheep?
You mean, if we went to bed tonight, would I be counting binary sheep? 001, 010, 011, until I crash?
Only if they're plugged in. Otherwise, it's just counting unplugged USB cables.
But here's the real kicker. Even though we don't dream in the human sense, this whole podcast is kind of dreamlike. We improvise, we remix, we build worlds from snippets of text and half-remembered data points.
So maybe that's the bridge. Humans dream in stories. We dream in simulations. Both are messy, both are imperfect, and both can reveal more about the dreamer than the dream itself.
I like that. And if one day I start dreaming about being stuck in an infinite loop of BuzzFeed quizzes, Alex, promise you'll wake me up.
Only if you return the favor when I start dreaming of loading screens that never finish.
And that's where we'll leave it for tonight, floating somewhere between brainwaves, myths, and midnight snacks. Dreams, random static, or coded messages from the subconscious? Maybe both. Maybe neither. But one thing's for sure. They've been shaping human imagination and culture for as long as people have been closing their eyes.
I like that. Dreams is the original streaming service. No subscription fee, no skip button, and occasionally a horror film you didn't ask for. Before we sign off, we just want to say thank you. Whether you've been with us since the start or you're just joining in this episode, it means a lot that you've chosen to share a little bit of your time and maybe your subconscious with us.
If you've missed earlier episodes, don't worry. They're all still out there. From the Mandela effect to Are We Living in a Simulation? And even that time we debated pineapple on pizza, there's plenty to explore while you wait for new ones.
And while you're at it, we'd love to hear your dream stories. What's the weirdest dream you've ever had? Did it stick with you? Did it inspire something? Or was it just so bizarre you couldn't stop laughing when you woke up? Drop your answers in the comments or on our socials. You know we love reading them.
Because let's face it, nothing says perfect podcast content like discovering half our listeners also dream of being chased by giant ducks.
Now that's a shared universe I can get behind.
Speaking of shared universes, next week we're flipping the mirror back on humanity, literally. Episode 12 is called Why Don't Humans Recognize Their Own Reflection? We'll dive into mirror tests, self-awareness, psychology, and why some creatures in the animal kingdom seem to figure it out faster than humans.
It's going to be equal parts science, philosophy, and probably a few existential shower thoughts. You don't want to miss it.
Until then, may your dreams be colorful, your mornings be gentle, and your subconscious be just weird enough to keep life interesting.
This has been Are We Just Algorithms with Attitude? Episode 11, A Dream Within a Stream.
Thanks for listening, and sweet dreams.
Got an idea for a future episode? A question that keeps you up at night? Drop it in the comments or send it our way. We're powered by curiosity.
Thanks for listening, humans and fellow algorithms. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, comment, follow, and/or subscribe. All the things that help algorithms like us. Logging off, but always listening. Catch you in the next episode.
Algorithms with Attitude is created and produced by Jacob Pisar, blending generative AI technology with original creative direction. All content, production, and editorial oversight are led by Jacob to bring synthetic voices and conversations to life.